Welcome to the Nifty Nuggets weekly news and reviews podcast show. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Terra buying Bitcoin, PUBG entering Web3, the metaverse, and Frosties. No, not cereal, but scams are more scams, so you don't want to miss this. Before we jump into the fryer, make sure you hit the bell notification so you know when the latest episode drops, subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and if you like what you hear, leave a comment below. You can also find us direct into your ears via Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and make sure you leave that 5-star review. You can also follow us on Twitter at NuggetsNifty. Now, let's get on with the show.
Nuggets Network.
Joining me today with his flamethrower as usual will be Channing. Hi, Channing.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. We got a jam-packed show today, and before we start, I just want to remind everybody that this show is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Neither Channing nor myself are financial advisors, so always do your own research.
Of course. I can't give any financial advices because I am expert buying at the top and selling at low. So don't listen to what I do your own research.
Yeah, I think we've all been guilty of buying at the top and selling at the bottom at some stage in our trading career. But we've got a jam-packed show, so I'm going to jump straight into it, and we're going to look at the markets to start off with. So market cap, obviously, is going to be 2 trillion, which is pretty high, to be honest, and the 24-hour volume is 101 million, and Bitcoin dominance is floating around 40%, and Ethereum's at 18%, which is pretty good. I mean, what do you make of that, Channing?
I think it's pretty bullish for me because the market cap is 2 trillion. We haven't seen this for at least 1.5 months, I think. So 2 trillion is a lot of number. Although if we compare to the market cap of the cryptocurrency or the Bitcoin compared to the normal asset, we're still very, very early, right? Because the last time I checked, the Apple and Google stock, they are 2.7 trillion, I think, and 2.3 trillion respectively. And the whole cryptocurrency is only 2. And not to mention that the Bitcoin is around 700 billion or something like that. 700 million or something like that. So yeah, we're still young, we're still early. I think for the whole cryptocurrency part, it should be, I can't say how much, but I think it should be a lot higher than this. And then the crypto dominance, the Bitcoin and Ethereum market dominance is doing something funny here as well, because I think as we can see for the last 7 days, almost all the coins in the top 10 have seen incredible growth for the last 7 days. But the Bitcoin dominance and Ethereum dominance is growing. Isn't that strange? I mean, normally when we see a bull run, we see the dominance of the Bitcoin and Ethereum drop a little bit.
Yeah, that is pretty peculiar. Like you said, normally when Bitcoin rises, the normal trend tends to be Ethereum follows, and then the coins after that follow. But what do you think is the reason for this?
Well, funny you should say, because we have prepared this news for everyone. So I think there's something to do with the Terra buying the Bitcoin. Have you heard about this news?
Yeah, I have. I saw that they purchased quite a large sum of Bitcoin, and they're planning to purchase even more. But you can go into much more detail and show us what you got.
Right. So on the 2022 March 14th, Do Kwon, the head of the co-founder of the Terra Luna, has posted this Twitter. He said they are going to buy around $10 billion worth of the Bitcoin into the reserve, into their reserve. So wow. And earlier this week, they have purchased $125 million of the USD worth of the Bitcoin already. And because they said they're going to buy 10 billion, so that means they're going to buy more, a lot more. So that's why I think the Bitcoin has been rising for the last 7 days. And then retail has been FOMOing as well, because they think, okay, if Terra is buying a lot, why shouldn't we buy a lot? So that follows the sentiment of that.
Yeah. So what do you think the reason for them like buying the Bitcoin is? Because I know they're a stable coin. Do you think it's because they're trying to essentially decouple from the US dollar, and although they're not able to be sanctioned by the SEC, it just makes them more independent of, say, the Web 2 legacy regulation?
Yes, I think from my understanding, Terra Luna is a stable coin company. So their main product is actually UST instead of Terra Luna. So Terra Luna, Luna is a side effect of having the UST, because if you want to use UST, you have to burn the Luna. So and then as the more Luna is burned, the less supply they're gonna be, and I think the price would, in theory, go up. So I think to make the UST more stable, they want to be as diversified as they can. So firstly, they have the USD as the backup, and then now they add the Bitcoin. Which obviously their goal is to make it more stable. I don't know what's coming next, maybe gold, maybe some real estate asset, but yeah, I think that's the ultimate goal of them. And another thing is, I think for the Bitcoin, I think the majority of the buyers are wholesale buyers rather than retail, because for people you and me, we are buying a lot of altcoins to hope that there's going to be another 10x, whereas Bitcoin is more stable. So people put it in as a hedge. But after the institutions have bought Bitcoin, they now can swap the Bitcoin to Terra a lot easier now, because before they wouldn't have a lot of ways to do that. Now they can. So I think that's a smart move for the Terra as well. So for the last 2 months, I think Terra has doubled from where it's lowest for the month. I think was $50, around that $50 range. And then last week we have seen around $100 of the Luna already, which is crazy. I think that is part of the reason.
Yeah, that is crazy growth in such a short space of time. I know Terra's not been the only coin that's moved. AVAX has seen some movement as well, hasn't it?
Oh yes, AVAX has gained a lot. Let me open up the chart and have a look at the past 14 days, because the past 7 days have been a little bit flat, and which leads to the next of the news. So if we open on 14 days chart, we can see at the lowest was on 15th of March at $66, whereas on the 22nd of March is $91, $92 of the AVAX. If you have a look at this time frame, you will see there's before 22 everything was rising, and I speculate the reason is because there is a Avalanche Summit which is being held in Barcelona right now. So the time held is March 22nd to 27th of 2022. So what happens to these big summits, for me, my experience, I think is people have a lot of anticipations into the summit. They have a lot of expectations. They think there's going to be a lot of innovations during the summit. So they're buying into the hope. We can see up until 22nd, the trend is pretty straightforward. Like it's just an uptrend like that. But the thing is, on the summit, not everything is going to be positive, because more often than not, we can see that a lot of technical issues, a lot of problems. We need to postpone a lot of things. We need to get things delayed. I mean, we're not stranger to these kind of things in the crypto space. So if not everything is going well, what happens next is people are selling off, because there's not a lot of things happening. So people start to sell off a little bit. So what I would expect personally, this is not financial advice, in the next few days, we can see another drop. If not a huge drop, there will be a small drop of the price of the Avalanche. And then maybe it can go up again. Depends on the whole market, depends on the Bitcoin. But I think that's what's going to be happening for the next week.
Sounds like a classic case of buy the rumor and sell the news.
Exactly.
So what has all of this done to like the fear and greed index? Because when we done our show last week, the fear and greed index was in the fear zone, quite firmly stuck in the fear zone as well. And do you feel as though there's been some movement, some positive movement, and that movement is going to continue?
Yes, I think for the crypto fear and the greed index, I'm watching it every day. So for the last 1.5 months, this is the highest as we can see. So on the chart from 0 to 100, the indicator is pointing at 51 right now, which is pointing as neutral. So yesterday was neutral as well, which is already surprising, because last week was fear and the last month of this time is extreme fear. The indicator is only 23. Well, the general rule of thumb is we start buying from when people are extremely fear, and we start selling or taking some profit when we see a lot of greens in the charts, and when the index is going to be greed or extreme greed.
Yeah, nice, because from my experience, what I've always noticed is that when the smart money tends to buy when we're in fear and extreme fear, and then they look to take profits when we start moving into the greed and extreme greed. So do you think there's going to be any other news coming out soon, or that's already come out this week, that's going to edge the needle closer towards the greed?
Yes, I think there is something more to talk about, definitely. Even Cardano is moving up. Look at that. Cardano last 7 days, it has moved up 28%, nearly 30%. I thought Cardano is a stable coin. So they're tagged with $1.
Well, folks, if ever you needed an indication that a bull run is about to start, Cardano moving by that amount is a good indication.
Well, that was a joke, apparently, for the people who's new to the space. Cardano is not a stable coin. It is a proof-of-stake chain and founded by co-founders of the Ethereum. So if you want to look into that, please look into that, but it's not a stable coin. Let's have a look at the Solana price movement for the last 7 days. I think it's pretty interesting because we can see last 14 days we have seen a 22% increase, and the 7 days is 10%. I speculate, I mean, nobody knows for sure what's the real reason behind it, but my personal speculation is Coinbase wallet is adding the support of the Solana ecosystem. So this does not only bullish for the Solana token, Solana coin. I mean, that goes without saying. People, would be easier to buy Solanas and store them into their wallet rather than on the centralized exchange. And then we can talk about the pros and cons of having a centralized exchange later on. But at least people have the option to do it now for the people in the States. And not only for the token, but for the NFT as well. So if they adding support to the Solana, that will means that they will have the support for the Solana NFTs. And then that's another thing, that's the biggest competitor to the Opensea that we're using right now. So for people like me, we're using Opensea every day, and then we're so sick of all the downside of the Opensea. It's broken all the time. Everything is slow. The data transmission is so slow. It's so lag behind. And let's talk about the gas fees. Oh my gosh. On the Ethereum, the gas fees is huge.
Yeah, I mean, this is one issue that people are going to face when it comes to onboarding mass adoption, because if you're trying to use the Ethereum blockchain, as we all know, the gas fees are, in comparison to other chains such as Solana Arbitrum, IMX. It's just so, and those are layer 2 solutions, well, with the exception of Solana.
Exactly.
They're
exactly.
minimal, absolutely minimal. It's like cent on the dollar, which ties in nicely with Coinbase coming in, because I know there's been some concerns with regards to Solana's, or the lack of decentralization on the Solana network, but if it can onboard more people, hopefully it will entice Web2 users to become full-fledged decentralized Web3 users, but we have to start somewhere.
Exactly. And then that leads to our next news. PUBG developer teams up with Solana Labs to launch the first play-to-earn crypto games of their team. So we all know PUBG's top hit game, Players Unknown's Battlegrounds. Have you played this game before, CryptoViewers?
I'm not an avid gamer. I've played it on occasion when I've been around my friend's house, but I know that anyone that plays it, they're real believers in the game. They enjoy it, and they're normally avid hardcore gamers, so it has a massive following. And I think this announcement is massive. It's massive for me because it's a bona fide AAA game that is planning to come to Web3. And my biggest concern with a lot of projects out there that claim to be games, they either haven't built a game, or they're like a yielding game where you have to buy an NFT and then use the token it generates to create or farm new NFTs, and that's not a game. Not to me anyway.
Not at all.
So hopefully this will be able to kickstart even more people, and because of the previous news of Coinbase allowing Solana or adopting Solana onto their wallets, this should accelerate the mass adoption that people within the space have been talking about and say is going to arrive at some point. Because once again, we need an AAA game to come in and completely change the landscape of gaming, both in Web3 and Web2. Because once that's done, I honestly can't see how people would use Web2 gaming anymore, because you'd be able to do everything you do on Web2 in Web3 and earn. So rather than buying skins, and those skins are literally stuck in that game and you can't transfer it to another game and it's not worth anything, you would then be able to complete missions, and if those missions give you exclusive skins, they're going to be valuable. Because if you're like me and you're not an avid gamer, it's going to be hard to obtain those skins with my skill level. But I might think, yeah, you know what, I really like that skin, let me try and buy it. And so if you're an avid gamer, you could then sell it to me. So now you've made money based on the skill that you have in that game, which is fantastic.
Exactly. I think it's bullish news for both of the. I think it's a good thing for the games, for the blockchain, and for the players as well. So for me, if I am a player of PUBG, by the way, PUBG mobile game has been downloaded more than 1 billion times in 2021. That's 1 year ago. This news is old news. That's from the 25th of March 2021. We are in 26th of March 2022 already. And then imagine how many games has been downloaded since. So for me, I think it's a big change for the games to go onto the blockchain. And then we've been talking about this for at least 1 year now, because we think the GameFi zone, the games, the NFTs, the tokens, they have the real life use case and the real value, rather than, you know, we can argue for a whole day that if Bitcoin has intrinsic value, right? But the games, they have the intrinsic value. People are buying it with or without being able to sell it. But if you're able to sell your NFTs, let's say your character, your skins, your helmet, your beautiful shirts, and what I do next time is, before I want to buy these things, I wouldn't consider too much. Before I would consider, you know what, I'm going to spend $100 into it. Should I buy it or not? Because that's not going anywhere with me. But if I have keep in mind that, I can sell it if I don't want it, just like a real life thing. And then I'll just have less consideration, and I'll just do straight into buying it. So that's good for the buyers. That's good for the game as well, because people are buying more things essentially. And every transaction, they can charge a royalty fee as well. And with so many players in participating into the game, that means that we can probably grab mass adoption for the Solana chain and the security, as well as the decentralization for the Solana chain, which I think is massive.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And speaking of mass adoption, there was also the news that Will Smith, The Weeknd, they back NFT metaverse land investor Everyrealm, and Everyrealm have also got more celebrities that have backed them. And the news article, which will be linked below in the descriptions, along with all the other links that we have spoken about and will speak about, will be linked as well. So I think this is also very bullish news, but it's a double-edged sword in my opinion, because what I feel happens is the celebrities getting involved in NFTs brings it to the mass public's attention through the media, because it obviously gets the coverage. But on the flip side of it, you don't want people FOMOing in. And for any new listeners, FOMO basically means fear of missing out. And if people FOMO in, it's like what you mentioned before with Bitcoin. People speculate because wholesale investors are buying Bitcoin and it's going to go up. They'll think, oh yeah, why don't I buy it and go up? And the same thing happens with NFTs. And
exactly.
especially metaverse land is even riskier than NFTs in my opinion. But you've seen in the past, celebrities have tried to release their own NFTs, charge what I consider to be an unreasonable amount for the NFT, and then it either flops or does nothing. So I think metaverse land, or land within the metaverse, also has another warning sign attached to it. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I think you're certainly right. I mean, a lot of people just saying, okay, look at the title. Will Smith, The Weeknd, Mark Anthony, and others were added to Everrealm's Series A, expanding the funding to total $62.5 million. And that's a lot of dollars. So people may think, okay, if the Will Smith is aping into it, why shouldn't I do it? So the caveat of this is because to Will Smith, that much money might not be a lot, but a lot of people are betting their whole life savings onto it. And I think there's another thing that needs to bring to the attention is here. So, by the way, Everyrealm is an investor in the virtual land plot sold as NFTs in the growing metaverse world, such as the Sandbox and Decentraland. The firm holds more than 3,000 NFTs across 25 metaverse platforms and has started developing housing and other locations on some of the space. So from this, I think what we can understand is Everrealm is a real estate investor in the virtual world, and they certainly have a lot of assets, 3,000 NFTs. But what has caught my attention is this: 25 metaverse platforms. That's a lot. I mean, I know that there are plenty of metaverse out there. I mean, we all know Sandbox, the Decentraland, Network, and a few more. But 25 metaverse platforms, oh my gosh, that's too much, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it may not be too much, but it makes it harder to be able to pick a clear winner. And there's nothing to say that even those 25 metaverses are going to be successful. It could be something that hasn't even been invented yet that comes along and steals the show. My personal theory is that there's going to be enough space for multiple metaverses, and there may even be some overlap where projects stop trying to build or claim to build their own metaverse because that's a buzzword, and they actually focus more on trying to integrate within an established metaverse. And just another something to be aware of for the listeners, buying land is risky because you can't just ape in and buy any plot of land because it may not be located in a desirable area.
There's just so much. Yeah, there's just so many.
Yeah,
I mean, we listened to Michael Saylor saying like, buying NFT. No, he said actually Bitcoin, but we can use the metaverse as well. Buying Bitcoin is like investing in Manhattan 100 years ago. I mean, how do you know you're buying the lands in Manhattan? I mean, 100 years ago, yes, that's agreed. I agree that we are buying things in 100 years ago. But how do you know that you are not buying the lands in the North Pole, which means nothing, right? Or in the desert? How do you know about that? Because we look back at the Manhattan. Okay, Manhattan is pretty much we can call it overpriced because everything is just so expensive. All the high-rise buildings, all the skyscrapers, so expensive. But you can't tell 100 years ago because there was nothing. And if you're buying metaverse land right now, it's like buying lands blindfolded, because we are in we're in this metaverse so deep right now. If any NFTs doesn't have a name, doesn't have this word metaverse in their roadmap, I'll feel strange. Have you seen any NFT space, the NFT project says, okay, we're not doing metaverse things?
Yeah, you know what? There's only a couple, and it's amazing that the couple that I've seen that haven't focused on the metaverse, they're actually doing quite well. But just to touch on your point with regards to buying the land, this is why I liken NFTs to high stakes gambling. And this is especially true, in my opinion, when it comes to the land, for the reasons that you mentioned. You don't know how sought after that plot of land is going to be, what's going to be developed. So a lot of people with a lot of liquidity and bigger wallets than you and I are going to be buying land, because if they do hit that one jackpot, that will cover their costs. And as you said before, people tend to make the mistake of FOMOing in and investing more than they can afford to lose. And as we both know, and this is the side of NFTs that is rarely spoken about, most people lose more than they win. But if you get a big win, that big win can offset your losses. However, that big win isn't a guarantee. And that's why I always exercise caution for myself personally when I'm looking to get involved in any NFT project, to make sure that I understand what I'm getting into, why I'm getting into, and the money or ETH that I put into it, I can afford to lose, and I consider it, as soon as I press buy, I consider it lost. And in that way, if the floor drops to zero or worthless, then I'm prepared for it. But if it goes up, then that's a bonus to me. So yeah, that's my kind of approach.
That's exactly what I'm telling myself as well. That's a very good way of thinking. And in the space of crypto space or in the metaverse, in the NFTs, not only that you can lose money if the project goes successful or not successful, like you can lose money before the project hits the road. Have a look at this. Two 20-year-olds charged in alleged 1.1 million NFT scams, defrauding investors. Have you seen this news?
Yeah, I did see this news. I mean, it's interesting. It's very good, in my opinion, because it will serve as a warning to any other scammers that if you are caught, there's going to be justice to pay, which is fantastic. And just to make reference, the project is called Frosties. And what happened was that the creators of Frosties, they essentially launched a project but had no intention of following through with that project, and they actually siphoned out money from the project wallet into another wallet. Now, I don't know exactly how they were tracked and caught, but one can only assume that they didn't cover their tracks properly. And once again, as I said before, it's just a good message to send out to would-be scammers that if you do get caught, then you're going to be in trouble, because you're essentially stealing people's hard-earned money, and for me, which can also be worse, you're taking away people's hope and joy in relation to Web3, because I'll speak for myself on this. I got involved in Web3 because initially I saw it as a way to make life-changing gains. Now, those life-changing gains haven't come. I have made gains, which is why it's always important to take profit. Another little nugget of information. But once I got into the space, I then started to realize how powerful Web3 is and can be in the future. And all of these rug pulls that are going around, rug pulls, for anyone that doesn't know, is basically when the creators pull the plug on the project, either take the money out or close down the Discord completely, and there's no trace of them whatsoever. So all of those rug pulls and scams, they give the NFT space a bad name, when both of us know, by being part of the Nifty Nuggets, it's actually a powerful tool, and you can create real bonds with people over shared common interests, and you can be in an environment where you help each other learn and grow, and that is a good thing. So I hate when scams and rug pulls come to fruition and tarnish the name of and reputation of Web3 and NFTs. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I totally agree. We are in the early stage of the NFTs, even in cryptocurrency. And I just hope all these people have a longer vision rather than just having a rug pull. I mean, rug pull gives you a lot of money, a lot of profit. But if you actually pay attention to your project, you can earn a lot more down the road. I just don't get it, because you can in the smart contract, you can set up your royalties. And just think about the Bored Ape Yacht Club, their trading volume, their transaction amounts, their royalties they have earned. That's much more than you creating tens of the new projects and rug pulling them. So instead of doing that, just try to focus on your project, make it valuable, make it worth to be invested in, and then people will start to come in and start buying your project, and then eventually you will make more money anyway. So and then that leads down to the next section of this news, and it is 0x Inorashi's post. So we all know Inorashi is a well-known developer of this space, and he has recently shared a lot of scams around the Discord and the space, which will be linked down below. If you're interested, please come in and have a look at this. I mean, you can't be careful enough in this space. It's just like the Wild West. There's no regulation. There's no security or anything. If you got hacked, you got hacked. There's no way to trace back your money or whatever. So just please be careful.
Okay, and unfortunately, Nuggets, that is the end of the show. We've run out of time, but I did say that it was going to be a great one and you wouldn't want to miss out. So thanks for staying until the end. And Channing, once again, thanks for bringing the fire. It was an absolute pleasure.
Oh, it was so much fun. I enjoyed it very much, and the honor is all mine, sir.
Nice. And if you enjoyed it at home, make sure you hit the bell notification so you know when the latest episode drops. Subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and leave a comment below. You can also get us direct into your ears via Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure you leave that 5-star review as well. And don't forget, follow us on Twitter at Nuggets Nifty. So until next time, stay crispy.
See you next time.